Hello and welcome to Fulgrim's Heavy Bolter Introductory Guide. I'm just going to be going over some real basic stuff on how the Heavy Bolter works in Eternal Crusade. I'm not going to go too far in depth, very much an introduction for people who just picked up this weapon and go, what do I do now? I'm going to be talking about your loadout options and what I recommend for that. I'm going to talk about how the character moves, which is different to the other classes. I'm going to talk about your options for firing your weapon and how it behaves with those different options, and I'm going to talk about your limited melee options. The Heavy Bolter does have some flaws at the moment, and it's very weak in melee, as you expect, but is also quite prone to getting outshot at range if you're not too careful. But with a bit of luck, and a bit of practice and getting used to how it works, some tactical thinking, it can really shine and you can have a lot of fun. So let's get to it. Alright, so these are your loadout options for a Devastator. Double click on that. I'm obviously using Heavy Bolter because that's what we're all about here. So, frag grenade or crack grenade? I prefer the frag grenade, tends to be more useful when taking on infantry, but the crack grenade can be useful if you commonly come across a rhino that somebody's left lying around, and the Heavy Bolter is quite effective against rhinos, so long as you've got the time. Crack grenades may take a lot less time, and they are your friend for that. So your other options is your ammo pack or health pack. Generally speaking, I find that I'm either dead or I'm not, so the health pack doesn't get a lot of use for me. However, I have found myself wanting an ammo pack before they introduced those when I've been spending a long time out in the field supporting, and even having to run back from, say, the wall on the refinery map to the resupply crate is a bit of a pain in the ass, and well, it means I get to shoot less. The repair kit, never used it, never had a need to use it. So my advice, take your ammo pack, frag grenade, and your Heavy Bolter ready to go.
We shall herald this world's
Right, let's take a look at movement first. As you can see, Devastator moves a lot slower than the other classes. There's your sprint. Fair bit of a turning circle there. You can't dodge like the other classes. You've got this little hop available to you. It doesn't take you very far. It won't get you clear of a grenade, so be careful. Uses up half of your stamina, so you only get 2. Now, let's talk about fun stuff. Your weapon, the Heavy Bolter, belt-fed, fully automatic. 500 rounds and no need to reload this sucker until you're completely out. However, the low ammo warning is kind of irritating, so I usually last about 20-30 seconds at most before I reload in advance of actually running out. You can restock your ammo supply from a supply crate, from the back of a rhino, or you can carry an ammo pack yourself, which is what I do. The default fire mode is hip firing, like this. That's got a delay before you bring your barrel up to bear, so it's not good for burst firing at all. really only use that in emergencies. It's the least accurate. It's got a large spread that increases as you fire, and fairly significant amount of barrel spread, barrel climb. Things only get worse as you're moving. So I really only use it in emergencies and when you've got time to wait for that spin up. Your next choice, or another choice rather, is to aim. By default that's your middle mouse button. This zooms you in and you become a lot more accurate, less spread, and less barrel climb. Another way you can affect the way you fire is by crouching. Much the same effect as zooming in. You can become even more effective if you crouch and zoom in. You see how small that spread is, but you're still suffering from barrel climb. Where the heavy bolter really comes into its own though is when you brace. So you see down the bottom of my screen where it says brace just above cover. That means I've got the option to brace on cover. By default that's middle mouse button. Zoom right in, no spread at all, incredibly accurate, but still suffering from barrel climb. Now over down on the right hand side alongside your ammo you can see a bar, and that will increase as I keep firing. Let's just not shoot at people. Okay, and that's your heat. Now if you keep firing, eventually you'll get a warning overheating and then you'll stop and you can't shoot at all until that completely cools down. So yeah, that's different ways of firing your heavy bolter. Suppression is your bread and butter, the reason for bringing a heavy bolter to the battle. It actually has a very simple effect. Anyone your shot hits, or nearly hits, has their screen blur and shake, and their accuracy is reduced. This is what makes the heavy bolter a support class rather than a direct damage class. You can certainly get the kills, and a lot of them, but the heavy bolter is best used to support your squad by reducing the effectiveness of return fire. Simply shooting near someone is enough to suppress them. You can tell if somebody is suppressed if you can see a red double triangle above their head. This can also be used to spot enemies if the small single red triangle isn't showing. Be careful though, you will also suppress any friendlies that you shoot near, so make sure you control your fire. Okay, let's talk about your melee options. These are rather more limited than your firing options, rather unsurprisingly. A lot of the time, your experience in melee will be brief and unexpected. However, if you keep your wits about you, you can delay long enough for someone to come help you, or even to manage on your own with a bit of luck. For purposes of this basic introduction, I'm just going to focus on two melee attacks that you get the most use from rather than considering all of your options. First up, your basic melee attack. Right mouse button will simply bash them with a heavy bolter. This won't do a lot of damage, but it will clang and prevent some damage, delaying your death. You can keep this up until your stamina runs out or they kill you. So at worst, just keep trying this. A better option, if you have the time, is the defensive bash. If you hit left mouse and right mouse at the same time, you wind up for a kick. During this animation you can block certain attacks, while the kick itself knocks the enemy back a little and staggers or stuns them for a short time. If you're lucky, this will be long enough to bring your weapon up and fill their face with bolts. Don't rely on this, however, as the stagger time is often not long enough, and once they start hitting you, they'll be knocking your weapon aim off.